Hi everyone, so I am here in Knoxville, Tennessee for the HGTV Handmade Tiki Party, and we're doing a ton of DIYs this week, but mine is going to be a fun party game, which is a twist on the game Twister, but we're calling it Tiki Tangle. This is a really easy DIY that anyone can do. You probably already have most of the materials, so let's get started. You're going to need craft paint, spray adhesive, a canvas drop cloth, a piece of cardboard, printable templates, some foam brushes, stencil sheets, a craft knife, a straw, straight pins, and a cutting mat. So the first thing we're going to do is make our stencils, and so you can print out these shapes. The link will be down in the description. And then I'm going to use this stencil paper, and we can see how it's transparent. So I can just use a pencil to trace those shapes and then use a craft knife to cut it out, and then we'll have the stencils to paint onto the drop cloth. So we're just going to go ahead and use a pencil to just trace this shape, and it doesn't have to be perfectly exact because, you know, it's a pineapple. It's not the most exact shape in the entire world, but just generally get the shape so that when you cut it out, you have a really cute pineapple shape. So just go ahead and use your craft knife to cut that out. And the thing you're going to want to remember for this is that since it's a stencil, you're going to want to make sure your outside shape is not messy. It's pretty clean. And that means that for these kind of curves, you can bring them, you can kind of extend them inside as much as you want because this inside shape does not matter. But this outside piece, you want to keep that pretty clean. So I would definitely recommend using a craft knife for this rather than scissors because it lets you be a little more exact with all of the curves. However, make sure that you are being careful and that you have used a craft knife before because you don't want this to turn into, you know, a trip to the emergency room. So once you're done cutting, you can just remove the inside shape, and now you have this stencil that we can stamp paint onto to make our game. So you're going to want to make 2 of these and then 2 of the bottom shape. So now it's time to actually make our game board. So we're using a canvas drop cloth that we've spread out on the ground so that we can paint all of the spots onto it for our feet and hands to go onto. So we're just going to put them down on the drop cloth and figure out how far away you want to space them so the game isn't too easy, but so it isn't, you know, crazy difficult if you're really short like I am. So the length that I think I've decided on is about 5 inches between each shape, and we're just going to tape them down with painter's tape and then paint on top of them. So we are at the last shape, and I am just finishing it up. And now you're just going to want to let this dry for, you know, an hour or so. Just make sure the paint doesn't get all over you while you're playing. So now we're going to make our spinner. So this printout is down in the description. It's already designed for you. And we're just going to cut this out, glue it onto this board. And I'm using artist board, but you could just use a piece of cardboard. Really whatever you have, just so it has a bit of weight to it. Cut out your spinner graphic. So there we go. And now we have our spinner graphic, and I'm just going to glue it onto this board. So you can just go ahead and adhere that to your board. So now we're just going to cut this out. And as I said earlier, you don't need to use artist board. You can just use a piece of cardboard or a piece of chipboard. Really just anything sturdy so it's not just a piece of paper. So once you have your board cut out, it's time to make the spinner. So I'm going to be using a paper straw for this. Use a knife or scissors to cut your straw down so it's about half as long as a normal drinking straw. So take your straight pin, and you can just use your hands. If you have pliers, you can use them, but you don't really need them. Just use your hands to bend it into a right angle. After that, use a safety pin to poke a hole through your straw. And on the template, I helpfully marked the very center where your spinner is going to want to go through. So just use your safety pin to poke a hole through your board. And now you can just put your straw onto the pin that we bent into a right angle, and then you can just stick your pin right into your board. And now we have a spinner.
Okay, Lulu. Spin it once.
Orange pineapple.
It's right hand orange pineapple top. Right hand red. Right foot orange. Left foot yellow. Right foot green.
No! So thank you guys so much for watching my Tiki Tangle DIY. Let me know in the comments what are some of your favorite summertime games, whether it's a DIY or not, and make sure you stay tuned for even more Tiki Party DIYs here on HGTV Handmade. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all again next week. Bye everyone!